The spectacle evoked a certain local pride, for such inclemencies were just part of the asperity of conditions which she reckoned as the price one had to pay for the dignity of living in Edinburgh, which indeed gave it its dignity, since to survive anything so horrible proved one good rough stuff fit to govern the rest of the world. But chiefly it evoked desolation, for she knew none of these people. In all the town there was nobody but her mother who was at all aware of her. It was 6 months since she left John Thompson's Ladies' College in John Square, so by this time the teachers would barely remember that she had been strong in Latin and mathematics but weak in French, and they were the only adult people who had ever heard her name. She wanted to be tremendously known as strong in everything, by personalities more glittering than these. Less than that would do, just to see people's faces doing something else than express resentment at the east wind, to hear them say something else than twopence to the tram conductor. Perhaps if one once got people going, there might happen an adventure which, even if one had no part in it, would be a spectacle. It was 17 years since she had first taken up her seat in the World's Hall, and it was none too comfortable a seat. But there was still no sign of the concert beginning. "Yet, Lord, I've a lot to be thankful for," breathed Ellen. She had this rich consciousness of her surroundings, a fortuitous possession, a mere congenital peculiarity like her red hair or her white skin, which did the girl no credit. It kept her happy even now, when from time to time she had to lick up a tear with the point of her tongue on the thin joy of the twilight. Really, the world was very beautiful. She fell to thinking of those Saturdays that she and her mother, in the days when she was still at school, had spent on the Firth of Forth. Very often, after Mrs. Melville had done her shopping and Ellen had made the beds, they packed a basket with apples and sandwiches, for dinner out was a terrible price, and they took the tram down the South Spurs to Leith or Granttown to find a steamer. Each port was the dwelling place of romance. Leith was a squalid pack of black streets that debouched on a high brick wall delightfully surmounted by mast-tops, and from every door there flashed the cutlass gleam of the splendid sinister. Number 2, Sivering Street, was an opium den. It was a corner house with Nottingham lace curtains and a massive brown door that was always closed. You never would have known it, but that was what it was. And once Ellen and her mother had come back late and were taking a shortcut through the alleys to the terminus of the Edinburgh trams. One saved twopence by not taking the Leith trams and had a sense of recovering the cost of the expedition, and were halfway down a silent street when they heard behind them flippity-flop, flippity-flop, stealthy and wicked as the human foot may be. They turned and saw a great black figure, humped but still high, keeping step with them a yard or so behind. Several times they turned, terrified by that tread, and could make nothing more of it, till the rays of a lamp showed them a tall Chinaman with a flat yellow face and a slimy pigtail drooping with a dreadful waggish schoolgirlishness over the shoulder of his blue nankin blouse, and long black eyes staring but unshining. They were between the high blank walls of warehouses closed for the night. They dared not run. Flippity-flop, flippity-flop. He came after them, always keeping step. Leith Walk was a yellow glow a long way off at the end of the street. It clarified into naphtha jets and roaring salesmen and a crowd that slowly flocked up and down the roadway and was channeled now and then by lumbering lighted cars. It became a protecting jostle about them. Ellen turned and saw the Chinaman's flat face creased with a grin. He had been savouring the women's terror under his tongue, sucking unimaginable sweetness and refreshment from it. Mrs. Melville was shedding angry tears, and likening the Chinese to the Irish, a people of whom she had a low opinion. Mr. Melville had been an Irishman. But Ellen felt